Have you ever stayed silent because you were afraid of saying something wrong in English? Maybe you knew the answer in your mind, but your fear stopped you from speaking. Maybe you wanted to join a conversation, ask a question, or share your opinion, but you worried that people would laugh at your mistakes. If this has happened to you, you are not alone. Millions of English learners around the world feel exactly the same way. The fear of making mistakes is one of the biggest reasons why people understand English but cannot speak it confidently. Many learners spend years studying grammar, memorizing vocabulary, and watching English videos. But when it is time to speak, they freeze. Why? Because they are afraid of making mistakes. The truth is simple. Mistakes are not your enemy. Mistakes are your teachers. Every fluent English speaker you admire today once made thousands of mistakes. Nobody learns a language perfectly from the beginning. Babies make mistakes when learning their first language. Children mispronounce words. They use wrong grammar. They say funny sentences, but nobody tells them to stop speaking. Instead, they continue practicing every day, and slowly they improve. Language learning works the same way for adults. The only difference is that adults become self-conscious. Adults care too much about what other people think. They want to sound perfect before they even begin speaking, but perfection is impossible at the beginning. Imagine a child learning how to ride a bicycle. The child falls again and again. Sometimes the child gets scared. Sometimes the child cries. But if the child stops trying because of fear, they will never learn to ride. Speaking English is exactly like that. You cannot become confident without falling a few times. You cannot become fluent without making mistakes. Every mistake is part of the learning process. In fact, mistakes prove that you are trying. A person who never makes mistakes is usually a person who never practices. One of the biggest problems among English learners is overthinking. Before speaking, learners try to create perfect sentences inside their heads. They check grammar rules mentally. They translate from their native language into English. They worry about pronunciation. They wonder if their sentence sounds natural. By the time they finish thinking, the conversation has already moved on. Overthinking creates fear, and fear creates silence. But communication is not about perfection. Communication is about connection. If people understand your message, you are already succeeding. Think about this carefully. When you talk to a foreigner who speaks broken Hindi, do you laugh at them? Usually, no. You appreciate their effort. You try to understand them. You respect them for trying to learn your language. Native English speakers often feel the same way. Most people are not judging your mistakes as harshly as you think. In reality, people are usually focused on themselves, not on your grammar errors. Your fear exists more in your mind than in the real world. Another reason people fear mistakes is because of school experiences. Many students grow up in classrooms where mistakes are punished instead of encouraged. Teachers sometimes focus more on errors than communication. Students become afraid of speaking because they do not want embarrassment. Slowly, they begin associating mistakes with failure. But in real life, mistakes are not failures. Mistakes are feedback. Every mistake teaches you something new. If you pronounce a word incorrectly and someone corrects you, now you know the correct pronunciation. That is progress, not failure. Many successful people openly talk about their mistakes. Famous actors forget lines. Business leaders make wrong decisions. Athletes lose matches. Singers perform badly sometimes. Yet they continue improving because they understand that mistakes are temporary. The same mindset is needed in language learning. If you wait until you can speak perfect English before speaking publicly, you may wait forever. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes after repeated action. Let us imagine two English learners. The first learner studies grammar for 5 years, but rarely speaks because they fear mistakes. The second learner speaks every day, even though they make many errors. After a few years, who will speak better English? Most likely the second learner. Why? Because speaking is a skill. Skills improve through practice, not through fear. Reading about swimming cannot teach you how to swim. Watching videos about driving cannot teach you how to drive. In the same way, studying English without speaking cannot make you fluent. Sometimes learners compare themselves to fluent speakers and feel discouraged. They watch YouTubers, actors, or native speakers and think, I can never speak like them, but they forget something important. Fluent speakers also started from zero. Nobody was born speaking fluent English automatically. Behind every fluent speaker are years of practice, mistakes, awkward moments, and embarrassing situations. What you see today is the result of long-term effort. Social media also increases fear. People see polished videos where speakers sound perfect and confident, but real conversations are messy. Even native speakers make grammar mistakes, forget words, repeat themselves, and mispronounce things sometimes. Spoken language is naturally imperfect. Fluency is not about speaking perfectly every second. Fluency is about expressing your ideas comfortably, even when mistakes happen. One powerful way to reduce fear is to change your mindset about mistakes. Instead of thinking, mistakes are bad, start thinking, mistakes help me improve. This small mental change can transform your learning journey. Every time you make an error, remind yourself that your brain is learning. Your brain becomes stronger through correction and repetition. In fact, scientific studies show that people often remember lessons better after making mistakes and correcting them. Another helpful strategy is to focus on communication instead of grammar. Imagine you are hungry in a foreign country. Even if your grammar is incorrect, you can still communicate. You can say, I want food, or where restaurant. Maybe the grammar is imperfect, but people will understand you. Communication matters more than perfection. As your confidence grows, your grammar naturally improves through exposure and practice. It is also important to celebrate small wins. Many learners only focus on what they cannot do. They ignore their progress. Maybe last year you could not understand English movies, but now you can understand simple conversations. Maybe you were afraid to introduce yourself before, but now you can speak for 1 minute. These are real achievements. Progress in language learning happens slowly, like growing a tree. You may not notice changes every day, but over time, the difference becomes huge. Fear often becomes stronger when learners avoid speaking situations. Avoidance gives temporary comfort, but creates long-term anxiety. For example, if you avoid speaking English because you feel nervous, your brain learns that speaking is dangerous. But when you face your fear, little by little, your brain slowly becomes comfortable. This is why regular practice is so important. Start small. Speak to yourself in English. Read aloud. Record your voice. Talk with friends. Join online speaking groups. Every small step builds courage. Recording your voice is especially powerful. Many learners hate hearing their own voice in English. They feel embarrassed. But recording yourself helps you notice improvement over time. At first, your pronunciation may sound unclear. You may pause too much. But after weeks or months of practice, you will notice clear progress. This creates motivation and confidence. Another important lesson is that accent is not more important than communication. Many learners worry too much about sounding like native speakers. But the goal of language is understanding, not imitation. People from different countries speak English with different accents. Indian English, British English, American English, Australian English, all are valid forms of English. You do not need to erase your identity to become a confident speaker. Clear communication matters more than having a perfect accent. Sometimes fear comes from negative experiences. Maybe someone laughed at your English before. Maybe a teacher criticized you harshly. Maybe you felt humiliated in a public speaking situation. Such experiences can leave emotional scars. But one bad experience does not define your future. Many confident speakers today once felt exactly the same fear. Growth becomes possible when you stop letting old experiences control your present actions. A useful habit is speaking English daily, even for a few minutes. Consistency matters more than intensity. 10 minutes every day is often more effective than studying for 5 hours once a week. Daily practice trains your brain to become comfortable with English. Gradually, speaking feels more natural and less frightening. You can also use positive self-talk to fight fear. Many learners constantly criticize themselves. They say things like, "My English is terrible. I always make mistakes," or "People will laugh at me." Negative thoughts increase anxiety. Instead, try replacing them with encouraging thoughts like, "I am improving every day. Mistakes help me learn." And speaking imperfect English is better than staying silent. Your mindset strongly affects your confidence. Another important truth is that fluency is not a destination where fear completely disappears. Even advanced speakers sometimes feel nervous. Even native speakers feel anxious during presentations or interviews. Courage does not mean having zero fear. Courage means speaking despite fear. Every time you speak English while feeling nervous, you become stronger. Environment also plays a huge role in confidence. If possible, surround yourself with supportive people who encourage learning instead of mocking mistakes. Join communities where learners practice together. A positive environment makes learning enjoyable and less stressful. On the other hand, constant criticism destroys confidence. Choose your learning environment wisely. Movies, podcasts, and YouTube videos can also help reduce fear because they expose you to natural English repeatedly. The more you listen, the more familiar English becomes. Familiarity reduces anxiety. When your brain hears English daily, speaking starts feeling less foreign and more natural. Many learners ask, "How long will it take to become confident?" The answer is different for everyone. Confidence grows gradually through repeated experiences. There is no magic shortcut. Some days you will feel motivated. Some days you will feel frustrated. That is normal. Language learning is a journey, not a race. Comparing your journey with others only creates unnecessary pressure. Another common problem is fear of pronunciation mistakes. Learners often avoid difficult words because they are afraid of saying them incorrectly, but avoiding words limits your growth. Pronunciation improves through practice, imitation, and repetition. Nobody expects perfection immediately. Even native speakers pronounce words differently depending on region and accent. One effective exercise is shadowing. In this method, you listen to a native speaker and repeat immediately after them. This improves pronunciation, rhythm, and speaking confidence. At first, it may feel difficult, but regular practice creates noticeable improvement. You should also remember that language learning is emotional, not just intellectual. Confidence, motivation, and self-belief matter greatly. A learner with imperfect grammar but high confidence often communicates better than someone with excellent grammar but extreme fear. Emotional freedom allows language to flow naturally. Imagine if babies stopped trying after their first mistakes. Humanity would never learn language at all. Mistakes are deeply connected to growth. Every successful person in every field has failed repeatedly. Scientists conduct experiments that fail. Writers create bad drafts. Musicians play wrong notes. Improvement comes through correction, not avoidance. Sometimes learners think they need more vocabulary before speaking. They keep postponing practice, saying, "We'll start speaking after learning more words." But vocabulary grows faster when used actively in conversation. Speaking helps your brain remember words better than passive studying alone. Another powerful technique is thinking in English instead of translating. Translation slows communication and increases fear. Start with simple thoughts. For example, when drinking tea, think, "This tea is hot." While walking outside, think, "The weather is nice today." Simple daily thoughts train your brain to operate directly in English. Perfectionism is another hidden enemy. Perfectionists often feel disappointed by small mistakes. They want flawless performance immediately, but perfectionism creates stress and procrastination. Progress matters more than perfection. A slightly imperfect conversation is infinitely better than complete silence. Sometimes learners avoid speaking because they think people will judge their intelligence based on their English level. But language ability is not equal to intelligence. A person may be highly intelligent in their native language while still struggling in English. Language learning is simply a skill that requires time and practice. It is also helpful to remember your purpose for learning English. Maybe you want better career opportunities. Maybe you want to travel. Maybe you want to watch movies without subtitles. Maybe you want to communicate with people globally. Keeping your purpose in mind helps you continue even when fear appears. One practical tip is setting small achievable goals. Instead of saying, "I want perfect English," set goals like, "Today, I will speak English for 5 minutes." Or, "I will learn 3 new expressions today." Small victories build momentum and confidence. You should also learn to laugh at your mistakes sometimes. Humor reduces tension. Many funny misunderstandings happen during language learning, and that is okay. Such moments often become memorable stories later. Taking yourself too seriously increases anxiety unnecessarily. Another important lesson is patience. Fluency develops slowly over months and years. Some learners become discouraged because they expect rapid results. But language learning is similar to fitness training. You cannot build muscles in 1 week. Regular effort over time creates transformation. Technology can also help you practice without fear. Language learning apps, AI chatbots, online communities, and speaking platforms provide safe environments for practice. Many learners feel more comfortable speaking online before speaking face-to-face. Reading aloud is another excellent exercise. It improves pronunciation, speaking rhythm, and confidence simultaneously. Choose simple English articles, stories, or dialogues, and read them slowly every day. Over time, your mouth becomes more comfortable producing English sounds. Another effective strategy is accepting imperfection publicly. For example, you can tell conversation partners, "I am still learning English." This removes pressure from yourself. Most people become more patient and supportive when they know you are learning. Fear also decreases when you realize that communication is a shared responsibility. Good listeners try to understand speakers even if grammar is imperfect. Communication is teamwork, not a performance competition. Some learners fear grammar corrections because corrections make them feel embarrassed. But corrections are valuable tools for growth. Instead of feeling ashamed, try feeling grateful. Corrections show you where improvement is needed. Confidence grows through evidence. Every successful conversation, no matter how small, becomes proof that you can communicate in English. Collect these small successes mentally. They become powerful motivation during difficult moments. You may notice that children often learn languages faster emotionally because they are less afraid of embarrassment. Adults can learn from this attitude. Curiosity and playfulness create better learning conditions than fear and pressure. Another useful idea is focusing on progress instead of comparison. There will always be someone more fluent than you, but there are also many people who know less English than you. Compare yourself only with your past self. Your journey will include uncomfortable moments. Sometimes you will forget words during conversations. Sometimes you will misunderstand people. Sometimes you will feel embarrassed. This is normal. Discomfort is part of growth. Avoiding discomfort prevents improvement. A powerful mindset shift is viewing yourself as a learner instead of a performer. Learners are expected to make mistakes. Performers feel pressure to appear perfect. Give yourself permission to learn openly. Many people think confidence appears suddenly one day, but confidence is usually built gradually through repeated experiences of surviving fear. Each time you speak, despite nervousness, your brain learns that the situation is safe. You should also avoid translating your self-worth through your English level. Your value as a person does not depend on your grammar accuracy or pronunciation. English is simply a communication tool, not a measure of human worth. Sometimes progress feels invisible because improvement happens internally first. Your listening improves before speaking feels easy. Your vocabulary grows silently. Your brain processes English faster over time, even if you do not notice immediately. Another important truth is that making mistakes in English is a sign of bravery. Silence feels safe, but speaking despite fear requires courage. Every imperfect sentence you speak is evidence that you are growing. Many successful multilingual people describe moments of embarrassment during learning. They mixed words incorrectly. They misunderstood jokes. They used strange grammar, yet they continued speaking anyway. Persistence matters more than temporary embarrassment. The journey toward confidence is not linear. Some days you will speak smoothly. Other days you may struggle with simple words. This inconsistency is normal in language learning. Do not let temporary bad days convince you that you are failing. You can also practice storytelling in English. Talk about your day, childhood memories, favorite movies, or future dreams. Personal topics are easier because you already know the ideas clearly in your mind. Another effective method is learning useful phrases instead of isolated words. Phrases make speaking more natural and automatic. For example, expressions like, "in my opinion, think that," or "could you repeat that?" help conversations flow smoothly. Your pronunciation becomes clearer through exposure and repetition, not through fear. Listen carefully to English audio regularly and imitate speakers naturally. Improvement happens gradually. Fear loses power when action becomes habitual. If speaking English becomes part of your daily routine, nervousness slowly decreases. The brain adapts through repetition. Sometimes learners wait for motivation before practicing, but action often creates motivation, the other way around. Start speaking even when you do not feel confident. Confidence grows afterward. One day, you may look back and realize how far you have come. Sentences that once felt difficult will become easy. Conversations that once terrified you will feel normal. But this transformation only happens if you continue despite mistakes. Remember this clearly. Fluency is built on thousands of imperfect conversations. Nobody becomes fluent through silence. Every expert was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once felt nervous. Every fluent person once made embarrassing mistakes. So the next time fear tells you to stay silent, speak anyway. The next time you make a mistake, keep going anyway. The next time you feel embarrassed, continue practicing anyway. Growth happens when you refuse to quit. Your mistakes are not proof that you are bad at English. They are proof that you are learning. And every time you try again, you move one step closer to confidence, fluency, and freedom. Do not wait for perfect English to start speaking. Start speaking and slowly your English will improve. The path to fluency is not perfection. The path to fluency is courage, consistency, patience, and practice. Most importantly, never forget this simple truth. People who succeed are not people who never fail. They are people who continue after failure. In the same way, confident English speakers are not people who never make mistakes. They are people who continue speaking even after making mistakes. Your voice matters, even imperfectly. Speak, learn, improve, repeat. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel.